What is up, everybody? We are back with another training camp recap video. Day number 9 of training camp for the Detroit Lions is in the books, and we got some observations, so we're going to react to them. But also, a big focus of today's video is going to be on Lions' second-year corner, Ennis Rakestraw, in his debut in the Hall of Fame game for the 2025 season. So let's get right into it. So today we're going to mix this up a little bit. We're going to be doing some film breakdown, but then also some training camp updates as well. So if there's someone specifically you want to see us dive into before the next game, let me know. This is the time to do that. We're not really previewing the upcoming opponents. So if you want to see me talk about Ahmed Hassanin, if you want to see me talk about whoever, anybody, throw it down in the comment section and we can take a look at different players before that game, as many as we can get to. But today I wanted to focus on the second-year cornerback, because the perception was that it just wasn't a very good performance because he gave up a reception, had a defensive penalty, and for defensive backs, it's very difficult during broadcast footage to tell how they're actually performing unless they are targeted. So because of that, if it's an interception, it looks like fantastic game. If it's a completion, horrible game. And that's typically how it goes for defensive backs. But it's one of those spots that you typically need the All-22 film to get a really good sense of how our player performed. And I do remind everybody out there that it's not just about takeaways. We saw Khalil Dorsey versus Stephen Gilmore. I think it's a great example. Gilmore had takeaways in the preseason, but also gave up some receptions. Meanwhile, you had a guy like Khalil Dorsey who was very sound, and he didn't have as many flashy plays, but he's the guy that's continued to stick around. He's the guy that got the 2-year deal heading into this upcoming season. Ultimately, it's not just about what is the result when the pass is targeted, why were they not targeted in certain instances, how are they supporting the run. There's so much more that goes into it for defensive backs, so I want to highlight that today. But again, we can focus on other DBs as well, safeties, other corners, Rock Ya-Sin. We'll give some other notes in there, but I really want to focus on Ennis Rakestraw and just really dive into the good, the bad, but also the training camp updates. Now, before we get into any of that, though, real quick, let's go to some of these injury updates because these are very important. First off, Terrion Arnold, who Dan Campbell stated would be down for a little bit. It's a low-grade hamstring injury, but he's aiming for the middle of this week, being that they practice today on a Sunday, which I think is very positive news. I thought it was going to be much longer than that, but they're going to play it slow with him. They're going to play it safe with him, smart with him. We don't really need to see this guy. I assume he's not going to play week 2 of the preseason. If he does, he may play like a drive or two at all during the preseason, so makes sense to take this slow, but that's an encouraging update. Also, Dan Skipper, ankle injury in our last game. The Lions made a roster move because of that, signing offensive tackle Justin Herron, while in turn releasing Raekwon Williams, the defensive tackle. That move surprised me a little bit, but it's also somewhat understandable too because the Lions could feel confident that there's a path to getting that player back, being that they had brought him in through a tryout this offseason, that there's a path to getting him back if they wanted to. But Justin Herron adding some tackle depth is pretty necessary. Jamarco Jones, I didn't think was great in that first preseason game. Giovanni Manu was a little bit up and down, and even right now, Jamarco Jones has flipped back to left tackle where he played last year in the preseason, played one game, played pretty well there. He was least productive. He's taken over kind of the top reps with Giovanni Manu mixing in. So just adding a little bit more tackle depth, as right now Taylor Decker is still out. However, positive update, working individual drills, big positive there. And for Dan Skipper, according to Dan Campbell, it's going to be about a week for Dan Skipper. So again, hopefully nothing that significant. A week sounds fine to me. That's a positive update as well, that it's not more serious than that. As for Justin Herron, we haven't seen him in the preseason since 2023. 2024, we didn't get to see him. He was knocked out in April due to a season-ending injury, so we didn't see him at all with the New Orleans Saints. But he's a guy that has experience in the preseason, both as left tackle and right tackle, but primarily as a left tackle. So makes some sense why the Lions would want to add some depth to that spot as of now. So those are some of the key injury updates that we have. Now, let's get right into the first one I want to show, and I didn't show every clip on here. There was actually a good play, I believe, before this in a red zone situation where it was the touchdown that we gave up. Lawrence Strickland gave it up on the play, but he essentially had to pass off the assignment. Rakestraw jumped down, took the running back flat. Lawrence Strickland had a tough responsibility with the play action, then to also pick up the tight end who's running the corner route, and he was just a tick late to being in a spot to make a play on the ball. Watching it back, I don't think there would have been much of an opportunity for recovery there. He was just a second late on the play, gives up the touchdown. But I did like Rakestraw quickly stepping down, recognizing the running back into the flat, and taking that away. Let's jump a little bit ahead here, though, because these are the kind of things that gets missed, again, if the player is not targeted. What we have is one of the Lions' Tampa 2 defensive looks, and I would say the preseason felt very similar to years past to what we did schematically. There was some man, there was some blitzing, there was a lot of Tampa 2, there was some cover 3, but it felt very straightforward in terms of the coverage looks that we actually threw at the LA Chargers, and I kind of expect that to carry on as we go forward here. Maybe we'll get a little bit more creativity. There was some blitzing, some late linebacker delays, but there wasn't anything crazy here schematically. But we start with this first play, And what I like about this one is just the feel. It's the overall feel on the field. And I felt that he was playing much faster in this game, which got him into trouble, but you felt that he was playing much faster than what it looked like last season, where he was just trying to figure it out and adjust to the NFL speed. So you have him on the bottom of the screen. He's working towards the field side here, and you're going to see he's going to squeeze his receiver towards the sideline. As the receiver continues to release that direction towards the sideline, he's going to let him take the sideline on the play, and then he's going to reroute and get back inside on the play. And you can see him play through the quarterback's eye. The tight end of this play who runs that corner, he steps down in it underneath, takes that route away so the ball can't be thrown there, and then he's able to step down into the flat and help and give run support in the backfield as well. So ultimately here, I just really like the vision. I really like the zone feel. I like how quickly he was to squeeze back inside and help take it away, playing through the quarterback's eyes here. You could see you could give up that vertical route. Good thing is we had a little bit of heat, so the ball got out quickly here. But with Lawrence Strickland, it's possible that you give up that shot play on the outside if he doesn't flip himself open and get out there. But in this case, that wouldn't be on Ennis Rakestraw. So I just like the feel here. I like the sense that he has, the awareness, and then a little bit of support. And that was a big thing, is game seemingly slowing down so that he could give us support in the run game specifically, even though the first tackle attempt that he had, he kind of flew into the box and just completely whiffed. Here's another example. Now, remember, Trey Harris is playing this game, second-round pick out of Ole Miss, and he's going to have work to do as well. But I just love the speed here at which Rakestraw closes off this crossing route, the recognition speed that he plays with on this one. So you're going to get this overbreaker, and watch how fast Rakestraw is out of his stance. He is to jump on the early stem of this route that's pressing inside, close that airspace, and he just takes it away. And then he's able to ride in the hip of the receiver, gets to the hip, resets to the top of the route, and he's able to ride with him through this overbreaking route. Again, a little bit of heat off the backside, so it's good as this boots out. We get to the running back on the backside, but I love what Rakestraw did, how fast he got to his spot here, didn't just let the receiver run away from him, and that allowed some freedom for the other safeties to kind of cut in front. Now, one thing the Lions are going to have to be wary of course, is, as you can see on the backside, you have that jet receiver who's pretty much uncovered, and Strickland's late to kind of jump over there, giving support to Rakestraw. That kind of thing has to be quicker. We had a couple of those breakdowns, as you'll see. But from Rakestraw's point of view, I love how fast he was to close it off. Just read the route, anticipate, and just play faster. So much of that in the NFL versus just straight speed is just, being able to anticipate things. And I think Terrion showed that growth last year. Unfortunately, Rakestraw wasn't consistently on the field or healthy to show that growth. Right now, he's banged up. But I think this was a good sign in a positive direction. Now, the downside is you start to kind of recognize, anticipate, and it gets you into trouble. And this was the first completion that he gave up. Just got a little bit antsy, I feel like, on this play to give up sort of this double move back over top. So we're going to see him overset on this example, one-on-one at the bottom of the screen here. And you're going to see the receiver's going to go into that reset release. He's going to kind of jolt himself back on the play, kind of comes to balance there. And then Rakestraw early, I think he's patient. He's able to mirror with his footwork in the straight pedal there, the 1-2, then he's out in the transition. But through the transition of the receiver that pushes, he doesn't completely push inside. He pushes a little bit more upfield off that right foot, and you're going to see there that Rakestraw just overreacts. He's jumping inside to transition with him with the footwork, but you're going to see how he overreacts. His hips are no longer square. Now he's trying to run with the route in this case, which on a drag it would be fine, but it wasn't. It was instead a little bit more of a vertical upfield push. There was a little bit of a shoulder dip, but he didn't necessarily jump completely inside. So Rakestraw kind of oversets there, gets himself into a spot where now he's forced to recover. All of his weight's now shifted over top, and as he tries to flip himself around, he loose with his hips. He's also looking for contact in the spot as well, but again, it's not really in a good spot here, and this was kind of an issue. Is like, hey, retreating hands when they can't connect, when they're in a bad spot, and here he's looking for that hand contact through the transition. He wants to control the route, but again, he's oversetting, so now he's got to flip himself around, and he does get himself flipped around. It doesn't feel as seamless, but you can see the receiver works through it really well here. He works through the contact really well, and now he has to close in transition and burst, and he just didn't have that to close on the ball. And the ball's in a really good spot. The timing's really good here, and that's how he gave up that reception. So again, the anticipation's great, but sometimes just a little bit overly antsy, and that leads to that being the issue. Now, positives, once again, playing a little bit more of an off-man look because the receiver is lined up in a slot alignment here on the bottom of the screen. And watch how fast he is to close on this route, but also the patience to wait for the route to declare vertically. So you're going to see the upfield push here by Harris, and Rakestraw is patient. He's not even moving his feet. He's not giving ground here. He's standing his ground in off-man coverage until the route declares. And once it starts to declare and roll back inside, now he opens, he transitions, he's on top of the route, and you're going to see some of the contact balance to get contact in the chest of the receiver, try to work through the hip, even though he's a little bit high, tries to work through, but he's able to stay connected and then sink himself at the top of the route without really grabbing, I didn't think, too much necessarily here. You can see his hands kind of slide off a little bit on that backside, but he's able to drop it down through the hip, which I really like. So you get the contact on the chest, kind of slow and jolt the route, and then he drops that left hand back down to the hip, and he's able to settle down with the sinking break at the top. I thought that was very smooth. It was really good timing there by Rakestraw, and he was able to stick with it, and that was really good coverage. One isn't necessarily Ennis, but I did want to show it because I did like the communication between the safeties. Even though, again, this could be a challenge, Lions going back to that Tampa 2 look, you get Rakestraw to squeeze back underneath here, then drop and get depth. But notice between Strickland and Avonte Maddox, the communication that happens here. So they recognize they're going to get this deep in-breaker, and then they're going to get this deep, really just post route over the top that's just going to scream over the deep over the middle of the field and create a clear out here against his two deep safeties, which it does work. But Lawrence Strickland communicates with Avonte, says, hey, you stay with that. I'm going to run over top. And he stays over top of the route. Now, there would be a window there, but credit to Zach Cunningham, who I think got in a really good spot with his depth here, helped us out. And then the backside cornerback as well, Rocky Sin, who can kind of fade over top and help us as well as just really good pressure to take that thing away. But at least there was communication here. Now, again, this could be a problem because you can see that backside, that deep route, he's going to have leverage if it's an amazing throw. You're going to have leverage there, and there's a potential window underneath. Ideally, I think you'd rather just pass this off. But I think it's good recognition for Strickland to quickly pick up on it, say, hey, stick with that, and then be able to drive on the underneath route. I just like that there was at least communication between the two there. Let's get back to Ennis, though. So, again, we're going to go back to the bottom of the screen here, and he's working this left cornerback role. Look at this one. So now this time, he's going to be pressed up in man coverage. I did like watching Eric Hallett back. I did feel pretty comfortable with him actually watching it back. We may have to focus on him. I thought he had a really strong game. But here, playing outside leverage at that cornerback spot, you're going to get that outside release immediately, and he's going to try to protect his leverage right in his pedal. So he wants to squeeze his back inside. He's got single high safety help, so you got a single high deep safety. You have a robber over the middle, so he's going to play that outside leverage back inside towards the field side here. So as he tries to protect that, you're going to see that he shifts his hip that way with the release. He's going to pedal. Now, ultimately, it's going to be attacked here, and look at the looseness. He's able to flip his knees here, open himself up, smooth transition. Again, watch his hands, able to get that hand back inside. So we saw Boodle do this as well, and apparently he's getting some first-team reps with all the injuries, but he's able to drop that hand back inside, kind of pry out that inside arm. So you notice how he pries out that left arm with that left hand to right hand. Now all of a sudden he's dropping that right hand into his hip. We've seen Brian Branch do this. Like we pointed this out during training camp. Everybody seems to be playing these things the same way. So now he resets, gets on the hips, and now he can locate through there. But he's in a really good spot at this point, and he kind of jars that arm out of the play. So now the only ball is a one-handed grab over top. It's a really good technique, and I think you can see that clearly all of these guys are getting coached really well because everybody does play these things similarly when they do it correctly here. Again, watch the vision this time. So again, top of the screen on this play, outside leverage, squeezing it back inside. You get this kind of just single step, little hezzy release, gets upfield. Rakestraw opens up with it, but look at the vision here because he plays with a good transition. He's patient on this play, opens up properly, and now he's able to find the backfield. So as he's working vertical, he's not peeled out of the play, drops it off, and now he can give run support. Even though he doesn't get a tackle there, he can give us run support. That's just a feel for the game. The game seemingly slowing down for him. And now here will be the example of the defensive hands to the face call that he had against him. And this one's a little bit difficult, but again, it's about that patience in that press coverage, which I think is really the key to this, specifically to giving this up on the hands to the face. So you're going to watch off the release. You're going to get this come to balance footwork first. You're going to get to come to balance, that quick two-footed step together. That's the come to balance there, and Rakestraw is going to be very patient to react to that. But you notice after the come to balance, he's going to punch. He's going to throw his punch at that point, and I think that's where everything gets thrown off. So as he throws that left hand, and then there's that second little upfield jolt. Notice how he kind of upfield jolts now. He's getting into that single step, little bit of a push up the left on that inside shoulder of Rakestraw. Well, now there's the punch. So his punch is a little bit off, seemingly because of the timing here. So you get the initial come to balance, here comes the punch, and then he's jumping out of it. So now the punch is a little bit off. So now Rakestraw tends to react to it, and you can see here he's starting to react to try to line his hands up here. So he throws that first left hand. It feels like it's a little bit high, and then he tries to respond and get his other hand back on the target as the receiver is kind of slowed down. He's trying to stall him back at the line of scrimmage here. He now can shift his weight back to the right. Now all of a sudden Rakestraw starts to lean with it, and then he's able to push back upfield. And notice how Rakestraw's body weight completely shifts to reactiveness rather than like pulling it back, dropping it back down, and kind of resetting, right? There's the come to balance. He throws the punch, doesn't connect cleanly, tries to get the other hand connected there. But again, the receiver's back at balance. You're going to see Rakestraw's not completely balanced here. He's a little bit more leaning forward. And when you get that outside shift off the inside push, now all of a sudden Rakestraw leans with it for the route release. He just shifts his body weight a little bit. And I think the only key there isn't necessarily bad because he transitions well, he gets back out with the route. It would just be that the hand placement just gets high because of that. Because that left hand doesn't cleanly connect, so he's trying to connect that right hand now, and as a receiver shifts back upfield, his hand slides up and he punches him. It looks like kind of in a chin there. He transitions well. I love the balance. He gets back on top of the route. The transition smooth, and he is doing his job. He's stalling the route out. He's slowing it down, and he felt that he had a clean punch there to jolt this route, so it allows him to flip back, get it in his hip, and then work through the top of the route with really good contact. He's just delivering and throwing off this timing, so he's there to break it up. It was a very close play. They get him with the hands to the face. If the hands are just a little bit lower, he's in a fantastic spot here, and he does what he was intending to do by taking away this route. So overall, while he had the flag, definitely wasn't the worst thing I've seen. Just a pedal footwork, dealing with an elongated release here at the top of the screen. Watch the receiver here. He's going to this very elongated release, and you can see Rakestraw, without even getting hands, can just mirror it all the way. Mirror that pedal, mirror the pedal, hold his leverage, and then as it declares with that inside jab, he is very smooth to transition. He can read through that core of the receiver that's pushing upfield. He transitions with it. He gets on top of it, right? He's anticipating where this thing's going, and he's taking it away. You can see the anticipation skills by Rakestraw to just play faster are incredibly noticeable. A couple little notes that I want to throw in here, just plays that stood out. First off, at the bottom of the screen here, one-on-one, I really like this, man. He's able to read through the receiver, poor body language at the top. He's able to deal with this outbreaker, stay leveraged on the play and take it away. And then again to the end zone on this play here, patient. He's able to open himself up, clear it out, and he's able to force this thing out of bounds. But then also you get this really good coverage everywhere else as well. The backside, you got Boodle doing a really nice job cutting off this inbreaker. It's really nice coverage across the board. I think the DBs actually played pretty well, specifically the corners in this game for where we were at health-wise. And according to training camp, we actually got some really big positives today as well. So jumping into that, it sounds like DJ Reed looked really good back at practice for DJ Reed. That's fantastic news. I don't expect to really see him in the preseason, but dude's a dog. And it sounded like he had a really good day at practice today specifically. Jamison got him on a comeback route, but he ended up doing a really good job on a vertical route against Jamison one-on-one, which is fantastic. I want to see him specifically against guys like Tim Patrick or Tesla, the guys that can kind of use their body to separate at the top of the route. But that is a challenge with that kind of vertical speed, of course, and you have to be very reactive to deal with that, and apparently he was. And also on top of that, he talked about how, he was dealing with an injury when he ran his 40 time. This dude's faster than what that 40 time says. Speaking of cornerbacks playing well, Amik Robertson doing a good job on Khalif Raymond through one-on-ones is the note out of practice. And I can vouch for this. Khalif is always the biggest handful to deal with one-on-ones. Apparently, Meek Robertson has been doing that. I actually have really kind of enjoyed the idea of Amik getting a lot of slot work as we move forward through the training camp here and just allowing him to be that position because, like I saw there with Rakestraw, where the game just feels like it's slowing down a little bit for him and he's anticipating, just reactive to everything, and it feels like he's going to be more proactive to set himself up. It's just continuing to dial in the small things. It makes me think of Amik Robertson being able to just kind of live in nickel where he'd only kind of dabbled in the past, and last year we kind of threw him in there to start the year. Just being able to let him ride that job, I think is great. And plus, he's got literally the best that he's working against in that role. Between St. Brown and Khalif and one-on-ones, could not ask for better competition there. Really good jams that were set by Kirby Joseph, working one-on-one on Isaac Tesla, kind of threw him off his routes a little bit, which is the challenge for Tesla. That's where we need to see development, so it's a good spot to get that work. And then the beautiful throws we saw from Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Branch one-on-one. Both those throws were disgusting. I was like, oh my goodness, they were nasty. The first one over the shoulder, literally couldn't have thrown any better. Again, Branch is working his hip. It's just beautiful ball, and that's what you want to do right now. If you can take away that inside arm because they give it to you and you can kind of just lock it away, that makes it even better because now Saint's got a one-hand grab that like we saw with Rakestraw. In this case, Saint gets his arms free as a vet, and he's able to work over top with two hands, but he is riding that hip. It's just the ball has to be now in a beautiful spot, and it was. And then the back shoulder pass may have been even better, as well as the timing there from Saint and the two tap from Saint. I mean, that's just amazing. Branch is all over him. Branch is excellent in coverage, and that's what Branch does. He's going to make you make tight window throws constantly. He may not always get his hands on it, but you have to make tight window throws against him. And clearly him and St. Brown, who Goff and Saint have always had this in training camp. They've always looked magical throwing to each other. Felt great because a lot of times just about the receiver, but man, the throws on those were just absolute money. Those plays got me so hyped for this season. A couple of other side notes that, we kind of read through today. Shout out to Pride Detroit for a few of these. Montgomery doing a nice job in pass protection. We also had a couple drops, I guess, from Dominic Lovett today, which I just don't want the guy's confidence to be down. You got to have confidence as a receiver. You got to trust yourself, not think about it. I don't want his confidence down. I want him attacking in contested situations because he can do all those things. Technically, yeah, they need to dial in some things, especially when the ball, I believe, gets away from his body. But ultimately, I don't want him to lose his confidence, right? You need to have that as a receiver. So hopefully that's not the case there. Hopefully he bounces back. Tesla did his thing in one-on-ones, made Eric Hallett miss a couple of times. Eric took a bad angle in the game, on the Hall of Fame game, but he also had a really good run stop in that game as well. He did a lot of work in the line of scrimmage, so for him working in the slot, now getting that receiver work, it's also good for Isaac Tesla too, because I thought run after catch was clearly a spot that he could be very effective. He is very powerful with the ball in his hands. We know that he can roll once he gets going there, but it felt like there was so much untapped. That was the one category where it just felt like, I hate the grade I'm giving him here because he does so much work with the ball in his hands. He did in high school as well, where they didn't really throw the ball. It's just like, this is a guy that could do a lot with the ball in his hands. It just, can we tap into it? And at least today, it sounded like there were some real positives of them potentially tapping into that. Zeke Turner had a couple of stops today as well on Sailors, the new running back that we ended up scooping up. And then I guess there was just a beautiful ball to Jahmyr Gibbs on a wheel route from Jared Goff with Alex Anzalone closing in, which we want to see that connection get dialed in. And hopefully it was one of those deeper wheel routes that I got to see in practice as well, where they were pushing a little bit further down the field. They threw in a couple of highlight reel clips for us, and it was mainly Khalif Raymond going crazy vertically over the middle of the field. Jamison Williams working over the middle of the field on Boodle. Looked like a slant potentially. They ended up creating some real separation on. Credit to Boodle. I mean, he's getting some first-team reps. Like I said, it wasn't the horrible game from Boodle. Boodle did some good things technically. You could see he just got beat a couple of times, but that's life of a corner. He did some good things technically. I don't want him to start or anything like that. I mean, nothing crazy like that. But, credit to him. We'll see how he can build on that. Tesla, we saw one breaking over the middle of the field. And St. Brown again over the shoulder on Amik Robertson. A bobbling grab, but just a fantastic grab there. Great concentration. Gave us a couple of depth chart notes that I think were worth mentioning. First off, Tristan Colon working with second-string center reps over Kingsley Egukan. Michael Neese is the backup center, or the third-string center. I think that's the right move after that first game. I think Tristan Colon earned that. I honestly, I expect him to continue to build on that. I think it was a very strong preseason opener for him. Also, they stated that, again, Jamarco Jones getting some left tackle reps now without having Dan Skipper, which is understandable because he did that last year in the preseason for us. They just kind of moved him to right tackle this year, probably because of depth purposes, but now being able to show that versatility could help him because I didn't think it was that strong a right tackle anyway, so maybe that's more natural for him. He'll get more comfortable there, or it's just showing that you can swing a little bit as the tackle could help him potentially. And Colby, I thought, did a pretty good job at right guard as well, so I don't know how much you want to move him around. They may just kind of try to stabilize that at right guard as we get to move forward here. KO'd mixing in some first-team reps at guard, which, again, I think is well-deserved. He was a people mover in that game. He was fairly consistent in that game. We might have to break down a little bit more of Yodi, but I think that was pretty well-deserved, rotating in with Ratledge and I guess Graham Glasgow, even though those guys are still holding it down, but getting some looks there. We know that he started in the past for us at both guard spots. He's comfortable with it. I think he's going to be in a good spot to make this team. I really do. Early projections, I think he's going to end up sticking around with the Lions this upcoming season, but that's definitely a positive note that you can see some changes and adjustments being made after that first preseason game, and we'll definitely have to dive into more of these as we go forward. But with that being said, I'm going to leave it right there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Brad, for watching. If you want to see a specific player broke down or a specific group, let me know, and I'm out.